express their opinions shall be deemed off topic, and your public comment period will be concluded. Message for those attending the meeting in person. These meetings are regular meetings between the board, department, and key stakeholders. Meetings of the board and police commissioners are open to the public. The state's Ralph and Brown Act affords the public the opportunity to be present at the meetings, hear the presentations and dialogue in real time, and provide feedback via the public comment period. During these meetings, there's a need for the board to carry out public business expeditiously and without delays or disruptions. Members of the audience should not engage in any conduct which causes an actual disruption of the meeting. Those attending in person are reminded that disruptive behavior will cause removal. If you disrupt this meeting, you will be provided with only one warning to cease disruptive behavior. If you fail to cease such behavior, you will be removed from the meeting. All attendees must be seated. Failure will result in a warning and or removal from the meeting. Before we move to item number 1, I'd like to say a few words. For more than a week, Los Angeles and this department has been on the international stage. My fellow commissioners and I have watched the situation unfold in real time with the Emergency Operations Center, command posts, communication centers, and other locations. As with many Angelenos and a large majority of our workforce, the events have greatly impacted all of us. This is a crisis that Los Angeles and the department did not ask for, but nonetheless, here we are. My fellow commissioners and I fully support Angelenos' right to exercise their First Amendment right to protest. The majority of Angelenos have done so without incident. It is erroneous to espouse that the act of disagreeing and openly protesting is not the behavior of law-abiding people. It is. However, as daily peaceful protests wind down, there's been a small group that has deliberately worked to counteract the message of organizers and protesters and enabled detractors to falsely label protesters as violent criminals. This small group has vandalized buildings and businesses throughout the downtown Civic Center, burglarized and looted private businesses, many small independently operated stores, and thrown projectiles at officers, members of the media, and other protesters. This behavior is not acceptable, it will not be tolerated, and it does not further worthy the cause that so many are rallying for in our city. If you are engaging in this disruptive behavior, you do not care about the rights of immigrants, you do not care about the sovereignty of the state of California, and you certainly don't care about the city of Los Angeles. I echo the Chief, Sheriff Luna, our mayor, that you will be held accountable for the disruption you have caused. I'd like to take this time to thank the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, the California Highway Patrol, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and many local agencies that provided mutual aid. The Los Angeles Police Department is well equipped to handle the many concerns that arise in a city the size of Los Angeles. But it is nice to know that when assistance is required, our neighboring law enforcement agencies do not hesitate. Like so many of you, we have watched extensive coverage of protests, evening unrest, and the many interactions of members of the public and media with LAPD officers. Although most interactions were uneventful and without note, there are some that we have seen that are of concern. The process for investigating and potentially disciplining officers is complex in the state of California and the city of Los Angeles.
So when it comes to protesters,
There'll be one person speaking. Thank you.
So it's complicated.
Sir, you're disrupting the meeting.
I know.
That's your first and only warning.
I got you.
Neither the commissioner or the chief of police have the authority to immediately terminate officers. As you have seen in other cities and states, without due process according to them, as members of the civil service system in the city of Los Angeles and the peace officers in the state of California. That said, these complaints will be investigated, with discipline applied when and where appropriate. Categorical use of force will be adjudicated by this commission. Thus, we are, as individuals and a body, limited on the questions we can ask and comments that we can make ahead of those adjudications. I want to stress that a lack of a robust response today does not indicate an absolution to this behavior. Rather, it is respect to the duties prescribed to this commission and the oath of office that each commissioner is sworn to uphold. Today, during item number 1, the chief's report, we will hear a full accounting of the events that have taken place in our city since Friday, June 6th, from the department's perspective. This will be the first time that this commission receives this information together as a board, and it will happen publicly here in front of you in real time. At the close of the chief's report, my fellow commissioners and I will make comments and ask questions of the chief. I want to note, as this is still an unfolding situation, a full review and a report of the department's overall performance during this time is not going to happen today. That will happen once this crisis is behind us, and this board, the members of the city council, and the mayor determine the best course of action for the review process. During item number 2 today, public comment, we will alternate between a speaker in the room and a speaker on Zoom. If necessary, we will extend the public comment period within reason to accommodate both in-person and Zoom speakers. With that, we move to item number 1, the report of the Chief of Police, Chief McDonald.
Good morning, President Sellers, Vice President Shields, Commissioners, Inspector General Barragan, City Attorney De La Guerra, and Mr. Sibley. Today I'll be discussing significant events from the previous 2 weeks, providing a crime update, and discussing our personnel strength. First of all, let me begin by sincerely thanking the men and women, both sworn and civilian, of the Los Angeles Police Department. Over the past 11 days, our personnel have shown incredible resilience and dedication to this city. I'd also like to thank all of the partner agencies who came in under mutual aid. As you mentioned, the California Highway Patrol, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and many others. One night out there, we had 14 different agencies assisting in our efforts. So very, very thankful to be able to have a team approach that works so well together. These past days have been anything but typical. We faced very unorthodox and often dangerous conditions. Our folks have faced pepper spray, smoke grenades, metal pipes, baseball bats, glass bottles, rocks, bricks, commercial-grade fireworks, and Molotov cocktails being thrown at them. Some have faced vehicles and motorcycles used as weapons, skateboards and scooters used to attack, and even traffic signs hurled in their direction. There were makeshift spike strips, some embedded with nails and battery-powered blowers used to push CS gas back in our lines. These are tactics no officer should have to face, but they did, and they held the line. They did it with restraint, with professionalism, and with a sense of duty. It didn't end when the shift did. Many missed Father's Day, many didn't have a full night's rest throughout the whole event, but they showed up and they protected this city. For our community, I want you to know we see you, we hear you, and we respect your right to be heard. Peaceful protest is part of the fabric of this nation, but we must be clear, violence is not protest. Los Angeles has been through difficult moments before, and just like before, we'll get through this together. So while all this unrest goes on, police work still continues throughout the rest of the city, dealing with some very significant incidents, which I'll go through now. On June 3rd, at approximately 10 p.m., Olympic Patrol Division uniformed officers responded to a radio call of an assault with a deadly weapon, shots fired, an apartment complex located in the 1000 block of Ardmore Avenue. As the officers were exiting the complex, the suspect, later identified as Ronald Gaynor Jr., appeared from an apartment while armed with a firearm, and an officer-involved shooting occurred. Gaynor was struck by gunfire and retreated into the apartment, and was taken into custody a short time later without further incident. The LAPD City Fire Department transported Gaynor to a local hospital where he was pronounced deceased. It was later determined that earlier in the evening, Gaynor was involved in a domestic violence incident with his girlfriend, who fled the apartment. Gaynor then exited the apartment and discharged a firearm in the air and in an adjacent apartment building, prompting the radio call. No officers or community members were injured during this incident. A blue steel Smith & Wesson M&P 40 caliber semi-auto handgun, empty magazines, discharged cartridge cases were recovered at the scene and booked as evidence. An additional handgun, magazine, and ammunition were recovered from within the apartment. Force Investigation Division investigators, along with representatives from the California Department of Justice, responded to the scene and are investigating the incident. On June 5th, another officer-involved shooting, also in Olympic Division. About 9 in the morning, Olympic Patrol responded to a radio call and began assault with a deadly weapon suspect in the area of Western and Washington. The comments of the call indicated that the suspect was pointing a mini shotgun at passing vehicles. Upon arrival, officers observed the suspect, later identified as Roberto Gonzalez Flores, on the north sidewalk of 18th Street. Flores was holding an object that resembled a sawed-off shotgun. Officers issued multiple commands to drop the weapon, which Flores disregarded. Flores then walked to the south sidewalk, concealed the weapon in his waistband. A short time later, he removed the weapon and pointed in the direction of the officers, resulting in in an officer-involved shooting. Flores was struck by gunfire and subsequently taken into custody without further incident. The LA Fire Department transported Flores to a local hospital where he received treatment for his injuries. The investigation determined that the weapon in Flores' possession was a metal pipe and had been modified to resemble a sawed-off shotgun. The item was collected and seen and booked as evidence. No officers or community members were injured as a result of this incident, and force investigators responded to the scene and are conducting the investigation. On Friday, June 6th, 2025, the LAPD entered a citywide tactical alert following the immediate unrest triggered by ICE operations in the downtown area. This escalation allowed us to rapidly mobilize resources, suspend routine shift changes, and focus efforts on public safety and crowd management. By the evening of Saturday, June 7th, in response to continued unrest and property damage, Mayor Karen Bass enacted an emergency curfew for portions of downtown Los Angeles. The curfew was in effect daily from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. and applied to all individuals within the designated perimeter, with exceptions only for emergency personnel and those traveling to and from work and attending various nearby events such as the Disney Concert Hall and Dodger games. As of last night, the curfew hours have been modified to 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and officers continue to monitor compliance to maintain order and reduce the potential for overnight disturbances. The situation continues to evolve and a tactical alert remains in place. And operational decisions are being reviewed and adjusted based on daily intelligence assessments and regional activity. On June 13th, 9 in the morning, there was a SWAT call out for a barricaded ABW with a firearm suspect, 600 block of West 78th Street in the 77th Division. Officers responded to an ADW shooting call where the suspect was believed to be armed inside the residence. Patrol officers heard one shot fired inside the location and contacted the suspect, but he refused to exit. SWAT responded and initiated a crisis negotiation team. However, there was no response. A 40-millimeter tactical discharge from the front door was conducted. The suspect began firing his handgun at officers from inside the residence. SWAT officers deployed gas into the residence and used less lethal munitions to subdue Andrews and take him into custody when he exited. He was booked for attempted murder. On June 14th, about 6 p.m.,
Mona's in the
LAPD
back.
officers, along with multiple other
She's
law
there
enforcement
with Gigi.
agencies, responded to the mass protests
That's
that were
hilarious.
occurring in downtown LA.
Gigi's got a
Crowd
free
control
workout.
mobile field force operation, LAPD officers established a skirmish line. Later identified suspect broke through the skirmish line, and an officer assigned to 77th discharged one round from a 40-millimeter at the suspect, and a law enforcement-related injury occurred. Suspect was taken into custody without further incident. Officers requested a rescue ambulance and was transported into a local hospital. Suspect was admitted for an injury to the back of his head. Force Investigation Division investigators are investigating the incident. No other community members or officers were injured as a result of this incident. Year to date, we've had 19 officer-involved shootings compared to 16 at this time last year. A good burglary arrest, in anticipation of potential looting activity, Operation West Bureau proactively developed a plan utilizing both shadow teams and uniformed resources to cover high-priority locations identified by each division. As a result of this targeted effort, 9 individuals were arrested for burglary-related crimes, all residents of South Los Angeles. On June 10th, Operations West Bureau received information from the Street Racing Task Force regarding a group associated with a street takeover planning to meet near Marathon Clothing Store on Beverly Boulevard. OWB responded quickly, deploying resources from our Gun Violence Reduction Task Force, along with detectives and uniformed officers to monitor locations. Approximately 25 vehicles were observed arriving, and officers were able to document several vehicles and associated license plates. During the operation, 2 separate burglary calls were dispatched around 11:30 p.m. Wilshire officers responded to both scenes. At the first location on South La Brea Avenue, officers took 4 suspects into custody who were found in possession of stolen property from a business that had been burglarized earlier that same day. The individuals had extensive criminal histories, including charges such as attempted murder, robbery, and firearms violation. They were also confirmed to be associated with a known street gang. At the second location, a red vehicle matching the description for a radio call was stopped by officers after being observed without license plates. Inside, officers found burglary tools, including power saws, hammers, pry bars, ski masks, and gloves. 4 suspects were taken into custody for conspiracy to commit a felony. Each had significant prior arrests, including violent and property crimes. Shortly after these arrests, Operations West Bureau personnel monitoring the original gathering observed a group of 25 vehicles leaving the area. Officers who followed a commercial van believed to be involved, and a stop was conducted by the street-facing task force personnel. The driver was arrested for possession of burglary tools, again which included power saws, grinders, sledgehammers, and a police scanner. He too had an extensive criminal history. Information on all arrests was promptly shared with OWB watch commanders and neighboring jurisdictions for awareness. Coordination between OWB and Detective Bureau is ongoing to identify additional crimes involving these suspects. The crime picture overall for the 4-week period ending June
Do you want the
14th,
chat to see it?
LAPD recorded an overall 7.3% decrease in combined person and property crimes compared to the previous 4-week period. Persons crimes, however, increased 6.6%, while property crimes dropped significantly, down by 11.2%. Homicides remained down year-to-date by 28.9%. With 41 fewer lives lost compared to this time in 2024. However, in the most recent 4-week period, homicides did have an uptick, 9 more cases, driven by notable increases in 77th, Central, and Hollenbeck. Victims shot are down 14.5% year-to-date. Aggravated assaults did rise 9.2%. Robberies rose slightly, just under 1%. And burglaries declined by 15.1%. Motor vehicle theft decreased by 11.5%. And our overall personnel strength numbers, sworn personnel as of June 16th is 8705. Civilian professional staffing is at 2664. And reserve officers stand at 358. That concludes my report to the Commission this morning, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chief. I'm going to reserve any comments or questions. It'll last today, and I'm going to go to Vice President Shields.
Thank you, President Southers, and thank you, Chief, for the report, and thank you for your leadership in navigating us through a very challenging time for the city of Los Angeles. People are understandably outraged and hurt by these ongoing immigration raids. There's an orderly way to arrest people who have committed crimes or violated the immigration laws. That happens daily. But what we have seen unfold in Los Angeles by this administration is not that. The shock and awe approach is a heartless political stunt that uses our military and law enforcement partners as political pawns to create unnecessary fear and terror in citizens and non-citizens alike. My heart goes out to all those impacted, and I'm sorry that when many of you went to the streets to voice your legitimate concern and outrage, other opportunists used your pain as a platform to destroy and vandalize our city and attack our officers. To the men and women in the Los Angeles Police Department, I'm sorry that you've been stuck in the middle of this political nonsense. I'm sorry that as you try to do your job, you have to deal with people throwing Molotov cocktails, professional-grade fireworks, cinder blocks, rocks, and bottles at you. There is no justification for attacking law enforcement, and I hope every person who did so is found and prosecuted. And I'm sorry that as a department, the LAPD is often judged not by the hundreds of hours of restraint and professionalism by hundreds of officers, but by a handful of video snippets replayed over and over again, some without full context. To be clear, there will be a full investigation and accountability into these isolated incidences, but they should not overshadow the tremendous work done by so many of you in the department throughout the last several days to control the chaos that was not of your making. Your efforts and sacrifices have not gone unnoticed. Thank you. Now, Chief, there have been accusations that the department has assisted ICE with immigration raids. Can you explain the difference when LAPD may be required to respond to a true emergency health call versus actually assisting in immigration.
Yeah, I think we've tried to be very clear all along, and it goes back to 1979 with changing the policy manual at that time. It's been the policy since that time that we don't engage in civil immigration enforcement. That's just not what we do. So as we've tried to be as clear as we can to provide a reduction in the anxiety in many of our communities, we have maintained a posture, will continue to maintain that posture as we move forward. In the case of the immigration enforcement that's being done by the federal agencies that you see out there ICE leading the way, if there's an incident where somebody needs help, somebody is being assaulted, it doesn't matter who they are, the LAPD will respond. That's the situation, we provide help as much as we can. We are not there to assist in the enforcement efforts for immigration, but we are there to provide a level of public safety for everybody in the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you. And yes, if anyone in the city ever needs help, LAPD responds, it doesn't matter who they are. President Southers, if it's okay with you, I know that the Inspector General has been meeting with community leaders. Can I ask Mr. Barragan to quickly explain what his office is hearing and the ongoing role their office is playing?
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioners. The Office of the Inspector General has been actively monitoring the situation and engaging with stakeholders in the community, including civil rights, immigrants' rights, and faith-based groups, among others. Many of their concerns were with the perception of LAPD assisting with immigration raids and the use of force on protesters, as well as First Amendment right concerns. The OIG will continue to review all serious uses of force by LAPD officers and remain a point of contact for any complaint of misconduct against an LAPD employee. As a reminder, complaints can be filed anonymously. Thank you.
I have a couple of other questions, but I want to be mindful of my time and my commissioner's time, so please.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Talking to the mic every time with this.
I think that.
Thank you.
The Commissioner,
Every time.
Shields has expressed many of the sentiments that I share with her. Chief, I want to thank you for your report, and I know that there's a lot more that you will be reporting in the future, and we all look forward to that. As for the peaceful demonstrations that our city has seen, I want to encourage those peaceful demonstrations to let your voice be heard. Our city is going through a lot. And I think that this is a historic and a watershed moment for our city. We need to be vigilant and we need to be protective of those that are affected. For those that are disrupting and causing chaos and are not putting forth the message that our community wants to put forth in light of the raids in our city and the arrest in a manner that is totally unacceptable. I tell you that it is unacceptable to loot, to hurt our city, to hurt our officers, to hurt others, peaceful protesters. That is not the message of LA. We are not burning down. We don't need what we see in our city in a massive amount of destruction.
Yawn.
As for the comments of the Inspector General, I thank him for visiting different community groups.
I'm going to ask today,
and
Peter.
agencies that also are very
That's what I'm going to talk about today.
that we have seen
I'm going
in
to talk
our
about
city.
a
Thank you very
PPA.
much, and I concur with you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I made my comments in my opening remarks. I'm not going to get into, as we discussed, the details of a number of incidents that were particularly not disturbing. So what I'm going to do is we'll move to item number 3 on the agenda, public comment.
Can I ask just one more question, the Chief really quickly. One thing that I've heard about, given that the officers have been kind of doing round-the-clock deployments, and given the numbers that we have, how are we dealing with officer fatigue and all this?
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna ask I'm gonna make the general demand, not of the OIG, a general demand
And our hope is to be able to give
of a
them the breaks
PPA.
they need to be able to recoup, recover, and be able to get back to a more healthier lifestyle in the days ahead. My hats off to them for the sacrifices that were made by our officers and their families throughout this whole time.
Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item number 3, public comment. Madam Secretary, please announce the first speaker.
The first speaker is Jonathan Foster.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Foster. May the Holy Ghost come into your heart. And so today on Malcolm Gus, I don't have a problem with that. Kalanche, she didn't supply her replacement, and so that's got to change. So the only thing I wanted to say about the riot is addressing the main problem with the LAPD takes changing the city charter and changing qualified immunity with everything connected to it. So throwing chunks of solid concrete at the officers isn't going to change these aspects of Los Angeles. So I wanted to talk about the quote-unquote unfortunates. Rosario Mack, Wilbur Blanco, Takar Smith, Linda Becerra Moran, and Yang Yang. And not to lose focus right now, there's a lot of distractions, right? And so this mentally ill murder is still gonna go on. I call it the unfortunates. It still needs improvement here, and I guess, so this one here.
Either the training's wrong, when people in the same circumstance, with the same training, respond the exact same way at the same time, I can understand that.
So he just okayed that they could shoot Wilbur Blanco 10 times. Huntington Park shot a double amputee 10 times. I've seen this on Dr. Rashid Ricky, We the People, civil rights lawyer, and Audit the Audit on YouTube. So it's taught me a lot about this. So what I wanted to get back to was about Yang Yang. Okay, so they went in. They told Yang Yang put the knife down. If you go back and listen to the recording, Yang Yang said, "All right, put the knife down. Put the knife." Oh, he said, "All right," and then they shot him. Go back and listen to the recording. Yang Yang said, "All right." It's not the police officer saying "all right." Yang Yang said, "All right." He was starting to reply. And they already know we're dealing with a mentally ill person. We've done this since 1970, since I was born. You've been blowing mentally ill people right into death. And so who is going to stop this? Are you going to become legendary? I've given you the opportunity to become legendary. Anybody want to step into that? Right. So, and then they let Yang Yang bleed to death. They didn't call the medics. Right? So this is really tough, and I think that we can improve here. We need improvement here, right? So there's a lot of riots going on, but they're going to do this next week, next 2 weeks, next month. This is going to keep coming up. So the training's got to change, right? And I think that maybe if smart people got in and redid this, maybe we wouldn't mentally, murdered and mentally ill people.
Thank you.
Next, we have defend the LAPD.
Hello, good morning. All items, please. Commissioners, just days before these riots began, I released a full report found at defendthelapd.org outlining LAPD's readiness issues, broken command structure, and lack of frontline support. I know each of you received a copy in chief. I know you read it too. What happened last week was not a peaceful protest. It was a riot, and based on accounts from those on the ground, your own employees at LAPD failed to respond effectively. Not because of the officers, but because of leadership. We didn't respond when we should have or in time. Officers were attacked with rocks, bottles, and explosives, and faced that violence with inadequate equipment, little support, and indecisive leadership. Starting Monday, the breakdown became undeniable. Every LAPD radio frequency is recorded. Go listen to them. Their confusion, hesitation, and failure in leadership. Long gaps of silence. Airship pilots making repeated pleas for help and direction only to hear nothing in return. The incident commanders were lying to officers, telling them arrests couldn't be made due to a lack of jail space, when in fact hundreds of beds are available. They put politics and optics ahead of officer and community safety. The moment protesters started attacking officers, the situation should have been shut down. Why on earth, Chief, would you agree to allow your officers to take bottles, rocks, and explosives thrown at them for hours on end? The mayor
Are they
was
gonna give you the
grandstanding
money?
that there were no arrests. That's because she ordered it. That put the delay put lives
Just
at risk
tell her
and
to put
surrender
the
control.
cover
The
back
fact that
on,
Mayor Bass was
'cause it
physically stationed at the command
spikes the
post on
mic
that first
otherwise.
Saturday is not just inappropriate, it's deeply
Just
concerning.
yell at her.
Civilian oversight doesn't mean tactical interference. I don't care if she bought everyone El Pollo Locos. She has no place inside command post all day with her staff. Mayor Bass, City Council, and you, Chief, you created this mess. If you want to get ICE off the streets, then give them access to the jails. Why were officers scrambling for gas masks and others issued expired masks? That's not miscommunication, that's negligence. You could shut down many of these protests by arresting those who block vehicles for false imprisonment. That's a crime, yet no one's educating the public or council about that. Interfering with an arrest and politicians tipping off the public is obstruction of justice. Start saying that and start enforcing it. We have pepper ball guns, sting ball grenades, and full stingray dispersal kits sitting in storage unused because leadership is afraid of political optics. Officers are getting hurt while command staff try to look measured on camera. I've spoken to supervisors proud of their young officers. They were afraid and still stepped up, but they hesitated, not because they don't recognize danger, but because they've been conditioned not to act. They fear leadership more than the threats in front of them. Sanchez, Gordon, and Garcia, you show up on Tuesdays and leave this position demands more time and a real understanding of the complexities of law enforcement. You each have your own agenda, you should all resign. If you want to enforce the department's right at the top, then stop pretending to matter at all. Thank you.
The next speaker is Baka Tanaka.
Put the cover back on. Put the mic cover back
All right,
on.
good morning. Chief, think I'm trying to share something about what I learned from the criminal justice courses. My professor told me that when you have your local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and federal law enforcement, when all three agencies at three different levels of law enforcement are having a same goal, that is how you provide best result of your law enforcement. But right now, what I'm seeing under the mayor, under your police commissioner, it seems like you are dedicating a huge amount of your effort to go against your law enforcement partner. So my concern is, in the future, thinking about that, if you continue to refuse to cooperate with ICE, with any federal law enforcement agency, in the future, when you having an active shooter, mass event, massacre event, whatever, that when you are asking the federal law enforcement partner to help you, you already burned the bridge. How are you expect them to helping you if you are refusing to help them? But I understand it's not up to you, it's up to your mayor and up to your commissioner. Second of all, I've heard several of our commissioners talk about peaceful protests. I want to challenge, I want to invite every single of the commissioner who talking about peaceful protest. Why don't you go there on the street by yourself? Because I went there. I have witnessing that people, so-called rioter, you call it a protester, I call the rioter throwing bottles at LAPD officers. I have seen that the officer giving them 5 times warning, 10 times warning, they refuse to disperse. They refuse to leave. I have seen that somebody just out of nowhere taking over the street, standing right there without doing anything. And then all of those behaviors, so-called our police commissioners and our mayor, our city council, call it peaceful protest. So next time you call it a peaceful protest, why don't you go there? Because I was there, avoid several bullets of the LAPD, so I know it was never peaceful at all. Third of all, I want to ask our Chief McDonald that I encourage you to watch. I think it's 3 or 4 days ago. There's a joint Florida Sheriff press conference. I want to quote you something. The Florida Sheriff said one thing said, if you step to our officers, I will make sure you end up in hospital before you end up in jail. If you throw an object to our officers, I will make sure you end up in hospital before you end up in jail. If you're pointing your weapon at any one of our officers, we will make sure we kill you.
So I just want to know that there's a reason Black Lives Matter, looter, rioter, criminal, they can never do this in Florida. And you know exactly the reason why they can only do that in LA, they can never do that in Florida. Thank you.
That's fucked. He's gonna run over to city council.
What items would you like to speak on?
All items, please. Yes, I'm listening carefully to what Southers said. He said this is a crisis that LA did not ask for. In reality, you have been asking for this crisis, the crisis of lawlessness. Even here. In
The shrimp himself, yo.
You've seen this, and I've commented on it numerous times. Bad behavior, violations of rules, violations of the law are not met with serious action. When you do not have consequences for crime, you get more crime. When you don't have consequences for rioting, you get more rioting. The false narrative that's been put forward is a disgrace. And what is that narrative? First of all, I should be doing their job. That's what the American people voted for. They have a right to do their job and not to be attacked by our politicians or not to be supported by law enforcement, LAPD. Everybody knows Special Order 40. Everybody knows that LAPD is not involved in immigration enforcement. But when people come out and they obstruct ICE, attack ICE, and we've all seen it numerous times in a very serious degree, then arrests have to be made. It is unacceptable, but this behavior has been accepted and tolerated. Going back to when the St. Father Sarah statue was torn down at Olvera Street and there was no LAPD response. Who was behind that? Was that Mayor Bass making a phone call to the chief, to the captain, to the watch commander, telling them to stand down? Mayor Bass has a history of ordering the LAPD to stand down to the point where crime and progress is being witnessed and not acted upon by the LAPD rank and file. I know they're frustrated. I know that it's not them. It's the lack of leadership at the very top. The fish stinks from their head, and it's a bass, and that is the problem. Southers mentioned the sovereignty of the state of California. What about the sovereignty of the United States of America? When people cross the border illegally, that is a federal misdemeanor crime. I quoted it here. Things need to be enforced. 287G program. Put ICE in the jail and have people transferred peacefully in a controlled environment. I second everything that defending LAPD said. There needs to be an investigation as to why there's a lack of response in many instances. We've seen crime go unabated, the violence, the graffiti. It has been a disgrace, and things need to change. I support law and order. I support the rank and file. I do not support looking away when crimes are committed. We need more ICE, more force, more arrests, and federal charges. Thank you, and God bless the LAPD. And God save Los Angeles.
The next speaker, please, Nayeli Mesa.
Man, she just took the long way around. She could have just cut straight. Oh my god, that was so.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. First time doing this, so allow me to thank everybody, and I'm a little nervous.
Can you just lower the mic?
Oh, yes. Everybody who has made an effort to keep our city safe, to keep us together, to keep families together. I want to thank everybody who's been part of that. Thankfully, my family's still safe. My family's still together, but I know that many people are not. Many people are hurting. I want to look for solutions with you guys, so please tell me what people can do so that we can keep families together. That's what I'm here for today. I want to know the law, right? When the mom who has papers is not being snatched away because they decided suddenly that's the law. So please, if anybody has any ideas on the city, that's the only reason why I'm here. Yeah. I think that's my time. looking for resources, guys. Oh, we have 2 minutes.
Yeah, there's a clock down there.
So yes, I would love to know what people we need to knock on, whose door we need to knock on, who we need to talk to make sure that our president does not violate the Constitution any longer with our own elected officials, with our people, with anything. Like, I want to know what we could do. I'm happy I was part of the peaceful protesters. I can't be mad at people, because they're angry. I don't know that I would want to open the gates of hell to it. My family was taken. I would want to go looking for them, So, yeah, you guys can help. I would greatly appreciate it. I am a citizen, came here the right way. I did my effort. I paid my taxes for work. I helped my community. I want to thank you guys for helping yours. Just really looking for solutions here.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning, what I would say.
All items if I can, please. Thank you so much. I just really sincerely, on behalf of the community, would like to thank every single LAPD officer and every law enforcement officer that was out there. Chief McDonald, we know we
put
have
my
the
name
best
as
in the world.
Heidi's
We know the
ex-husband.
restraint of these guys held. We know how they keep our neighborhood safe, and it was absolutely heart-breaking and heart-wrenching to see these officers getting ambushed, getting overwhelmed and outnumbered, and the officers that were under the freeway bridge for hours. Those buffoons stood on the freeway bridge throwing rocks and fireworks and other things while the officers were trapped under there. Absolutely unacceptable. Chief McDonald, when an officer is ambushed, when this happens, you have to go scorched earth. This is not okay. These officers were worried about going home to their families and their newborn babies, their parents. Something more needs to be done. Please protect these officers that are out there risking their lives every day. To follow up on the other gentleman, the police chief in Florida held up 2 pictures. We know the difference. This is a peaceful protest. This is a riot. This is peaceful marching. This is looting. Enough of the excuses by saying, we know we have some bad apples. No, Mayor Bass, these are not bad apples. These are paid agitators. These are paid criminals. And these are paid idiots that wreak havoc on our city. And God bless the people in downtown and the businesses that are losing money. Downtown is a beautiful place to eat, to walk around, to take families. They've ruined us. Chief McDonald, I urge you, please be your own person, which you are. I've heard you in a couple of interviews and you are fantastic. Appreciate you. Please support these officers. If one bottle is thrown, if anything is tossed at them, bricks, bottles, anything, it has to be nipped in the bud right there because it was too late and the riots continued and they got bigger. Peaceful protesting is okay, but what happened in the last few days, not just LA was the worst of the worst because they can get away with it because it's been left for so long. We were a disgrace around the country and around the world. And the fireworks, I saw one video, an officer looked up and said, run, as he's looking up. It was like a bomb coming down on there. God bless the LA.
Next speaker, please, Mr. Herman.
Let's see which way he's gonna go. He's probably coming this way.
Morning. Good news is that Donald Trump made it happen. You made it work. Well, your mayor, your elected officials stood there with their hands between their legs. Well, poor Jim was told not to do anything. Imelda Padilla, a councilwoman, told the chief of police to his face, "You're gonna do what I tell you to say, chief." No. There's a distinction between Trump, LAPD, and the sheriffs. Fuck City Hall, fuck the mayor, and fuck their stupid policy, practice, and pattern.
There are children in the room.
Yeah, I'm a child, and I'm offended that the goddamn situation of motherfuckers doing these type of shit continues. Right, Southers? I'm an American, Native American, motherfucker. And damn shame am I gonna stop and prevent. No, I'm gonna enforce. I'm an enforcer, Southers, not a pussy or a twat. I'm a real man with balls like Donald Trump, 45, when I voted him into office. And look at what he's done. An excellent job with Ice Ice Baby. Now, if government in Washington cares about illegal immigration, then do something about it. Fuck Alex Padilla. Fuck Jimmy Gomez. Fucking morons. And if anyone cares about immigration, especially today, then stop using people as pods, as slaves, taking your kids to school, feeding your kids as they babysit, guarding your fucking homes. That's nonsense. When I sat in the federal court with David O. Carter and heard the CAO talk about homelessness, fuck Matt Zabel, fuck the city of Los Angeles, and fuck LASA, and the 4 fucking bitches of the board of supervisors that made me homeless. It's your job and duty to do what we, the public, demand. And in my closing argument for the record, it's right here in my hand for you. All about homelessness. God bless America. God bless Trump. Thank you, 70-year-old Donald Trump, because that other dumbass Biden did shit.
Thank you.
Next we have Betty Lane.
Excuse me, neighbor. Yeah. Thank you.
Good morning. Anyone else would you like to speak up?
I'd like to remark on Chief's report, agenda items, and public comment, please. Okay, first off, I appreciate Chief's report over everything that already has been going through. It breaks my heart of all these negative protesters. I also support all the donation items on the agenda. Now, Chief, I've gone over this before, but I'm gonna do it again. When you have an upper command that has no common sense, so is very, very smart, they need to be in a strategic group such as the new Public Safety Metro Police Department. You know, when First Division, I had told Chief Choi at the time, the issue with the gang unit was out of revenge. And that was back in September 2024. And the truth will come out if you don't look at an internal review. It was revenge, but he didn't listen. There are times when people from the outside looking in know what they're talking about and how to fix it. those who caused this mess have already been terminated as they should. The upper command needs to be reinstated and back at the division where they were respected, appreciated, and loved. Morale needs to come back. Who has made a big difference in connecting with the community for the better? Please do the right thing and fix it. The answer where very smart people in command, they need to be where they're helpful. Even if it's going to Harbor Division. When you were first elected, I was so thrilled, and you were great answering my emails until I brought up the issue of the gang unit in February. Now, for some reason, you don't answer any. Apparently, you're lacking division-making skills. God bless everybody, and God bless the LAPD.
The next speaker, please, Peter Gregg.
That's me. So we have some new faces in the room, and I'm gonna tell you the story about how I beat a criminal case that Heidi Soto, the very city attorney, lobbied against me for simply speaking out against her political allies, which are in fact the cult of Scientology. Not only did I beat that case, not only was I acquitted of the charge, right, because it was clearly frivolous, and I got her on a recording. I got her on a recording at a public meeting where she admitted that she knew it was frivolous, she knew it was not a priority, and she admitted to doing so as a favor to Scientology, because who's this guy from the East Coast that comes as a tourist all the way to California to fight the case, win it, no convictions, no crimes, no fines, no nothing, and to hold her accountable? I have visited every agency at this point and filed various complaints, and I even was denied the ability to file a police report regarding the various criminal activity, not only of the city attorney herself, but of the 5 cops involved in my case, whose serial numbers I've laid before you before, and I have new serial numbers today to present before you on people who I'm waiting for a couple of things. First of all, I filed a complaint against all 5 officers with Sergeant Lee Perry here at the headquarters. That was 2 weeks ago. How come I haven't gotten my CF numbers? Where are my CF numbers? I wrote the damn complaint for you. I videotaped the damn thing. Where's my CF numbers? I want to make sure their names are officially registered on those complaints, and I want those CF numbers. So I better see those CF numbers. Next up, we have the actual officers at the central station where I was trying to make my police report against Heidi. I haven't asked for a PPA yet, but let this be my official request for a PPA against Heidi Soto for the criminal acts to which I was acquitted of the charge and to which she committed all along the way, obstruction of justice and various other activities. So I spoke with Detective Rank 3, by the way, not just a rookie detective. Rank 3, serial number 37452, Quintanilla. He denied me a police report, essentially giving me the middle finger, telling me to go kick rocks, and will not allow me to file a damn police report. I want Heidi Soto's name tied to an incident ID, and I want that damn incident ID number, just like every other member here, and every member of the public has the right to file a police report. Not only that, though, it doesn't stop there, right? There's 2 lieutenants this fool admitted to colluding with in the back to rejecting me my ability to file a police report. We have Mathis, serial number 30400, and Stetter, serial number 35831. How deep does this go? And do I need to be a cop to start holding you guys accountable? Maybe I will, Jim. Maybe I'll see you on the other side. Who knows?
Next we have Jill.
Speakers audit, LA.
Give me the little mic. Yeah.
you. I hope you can hear me. Good morning. I want to, first of all, thank you for trusting us with a peaceful permit to protest peacefully the Church of Scientology. It was on Father's Day, and it was absolutely amazing. It was everything I said it would be. Peaceful, joyful, loving. We got people who grew up there or who were there for victims who were escaped, like Nora, Laura, Vanessa, and others, were able to come and speak their minds, sing, and be able to reclaim a part of their lives, that their strength, that they can go back and say, I survived you. I survived this hellish place. And it was done with love and dignity. We have a scroll here today that we laid out, and it has 209 names of children who survived, who have come forward as survivors, who are willing to put their name on a list. Many of them, though, are not with us anymore. They couldn't handle the effects of what they went through. Many committed suicide. They have one of the highest suicide rates. But we honor them, and we have that list we would love you to see. It's a beautiful scroll made by Liz Gale, a former Scientologist, and her brother is the first name on the list. He committed suicide. And that is the hardest thing to even think of, but she is putting her pain in her art. The officers that were there to protect us did a great job, and they were very sympathetic, and they listened to people like Nora and Laura, who were trying to explain to them what Scientology really is. And I believe they heard us. In retaliation, though, Scientology they moved our porta potty down the street. They came to my building, knocking on my neighbor's doors, saying that I got fraudulent protest permits, and asking all kinds of questions. They even went to my door. They called my family member, my daughter, okay, and is harassing her, scaring her. I am good, and I'm being fair gamed, and we are being followed. I'm having people put pictures of whoever I'm with on the internet and doxing us. And this is ever since, we're just going with this permit. We were being followed and watched at restaurants. I'm going through a lot right now to have this, because I am going to speak up forever until Scientology there's no more children in Scientology, until these human abuses are done. I'm coming, and I'm begging you, Chief, please get them off of your CPABs until these things are resolved. I beg you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Glenn.
Yes, hello, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, but I need to hear from
All of them, please. You all have made me come here for the first time as an adult. I have a challenge to this commission. Prove me wrong. I feel like you're all in your best form of performative politics. I have listened to what I've heard today, and I feel like I'm in another universe. I understand, and I want to recognize that the challenge you and I in no way defend anyone who dropped bricks from bridges on police cars. Those are not the peaceful protesters we're talking about. If everyone who went and insurrected on January 6th doesn't represent all of Make America Great Again, those people don't represent all the protesters that have been marching throughout Los Angeles and throughout this country. So again, I challenge you, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong that you're not all cowards up there, using process to not just simply tell us, hey, we are investigating, you can't comment further, but we have seen, yes, that a police officer shot a rubber bullet in an Australian report. But we have seen and know the officers who, in another widely viewed clip, saw a protester who I personally saw get shot with a rubber bullet in her head. And she was peacefully protesting the entire damn time, saved and blamed the people around her for why they couldn't get her medical aid. There are multiple instances like that. At least acknowledge which ones you are aware of. that everyone has seen, then maybe you have some faith in this commission. Because right now, I have absolutely no faith in you whatsoever. You want to not have people turn violent? I have an idea. When something hasn't really been labeled an unlawful assembly, how about you don't use rubber bullets? That would be a great first start, because then you actually allow both the people who are not going to be agitators to get furious, and those who might have been there for nefarious means to have an excuse. How do you do that? And then how do you try to gaslight people who are there? And I was there. And I'm not somebody with a paid protest. If there is, I'll let you know my address. You can send me the check later, because I've never received one. And I've never gone to 30 protests in my life. This is a new thing for me, because I'm absolutely sickened by the fact that while we need to protect our laws, acting like ICE hasn't arrested citizens, which they have no jurisdiction for, in masks, with no badges, with no identification, and unmarked cars, and that's okay, and that people don't have a right to fight for their freedoms, their basic rights after that, is ridiculous. And those who are claiming about law and order and are okay with that, let me see them do that to you in your community.
That's right.
Enough is enough. Prove us wrong that this commission and this city, which has bad experiences with protecting cops for way too long, is going to do differently this time. Because I can tell you right now, you're not getting away from my eyesight this time. Thank you.
The next speaker, Andrew Graver.
And I just want to point out, Andrew's been here all this whole morning. That's crazy. He's the first one here.
All right, so let's start off with the commission president's comments. All right, I'm going to talk about the commission president's comments, and I'm going to talk about it in the volume of the voice that the commission president used to give his comments, and then yell at me when I call him out on it. But yeah, I mean, really not much to that. All right, so we have the chief's report, which will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes in every meeting, and if it exceeds 3 minutes, we will match the amount of time the chief takes. And regardless of how long the chief takes to give his report, everyone should be able to speak both in person and on the phone. So we hear a lot about, we're kind of starting to see a bit of an attempt by you, some of you, honestly, by of course the chief of police, and some of your supporters who call in and things like that, to kind of rewrite how things went and to kind of make it sound like that most of the violence was coming from the protesters or things like that, which is not the case. What I can see, it sounds like most of the violence is coming from the police, a lot of it coming from this department. And we're seeing incidents, cops are just indiscriminately firing less lethal munitions. And let's take a minute to emphasize that it is less lethal, not non-lethal. So they're still lethal. There's still lethal munitions that you're firing into the crowds indiscriminately just because people aren't dispersing fast enough for you or something. And you don't even give them an opportunity to disperse. There was at least one incident earlier this week with the curfew where people were trying to leave and go home, and you trapped them and then arrested them for violating the curfew, even though they were trying to leave at like 7:30 and you trapped them. You've had multiple incidents where you've probably come pretty close to killing people with these less lethal munitions, with these horses. I'm going to get to the horses in a minute here. But you're collaborating with ICE, and you're deceiving people into thinking that you're not. I've seen people from, not even in this LA, and people well-meaning who are reposting things from you. Let's see, the LAPD is supporting the public, and it's not supporting ICE. You are. You're misleading and deceiving them into thinking that you are not assisting ICE, when in fact you openly admitted at a city council hearing that you are. All right, so we have 17 automated license plate readers on the agenda today. These are the things that, send data to ICE and such, I think. You get 17 more of them. So there's a lot that's still on the agenda after all of this. We also have a donation for a new police horse. It's those horses that you keep using to trample protesters, and I don't even have time probably.
Next is caller ending 1403. caller 1403, you're on.
The next speaker is Mona M.
I've got to figure out our accessibility around here. Thank you, Commissioners, I appreciate your time. And first of all, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chief McDowell. I've been on every meeting for the last year and a half. It's been on Zoom, so this is a pleasure and an honor to be able to be here to talk with you. Can you hear me okay? I do come to talk again about the meeting that you did put together for us with your deputy chief. I certainly appreciate that. And one of the resolutions and one of the problem solves that we came up with was the fact that no victim, no crime, that people need to report. And I've heard continually from the commission, from the chief, from the OIG, that you want people to come in and report and not to be intimidated and not to be afraid, that their civil rights are important just as much as the violators. And unfortunately, people feel the no victim, no crime. People feel intimidated to come in and report their abuse because of the positions and the people that are being held on the CPAPs. The Church of Scientology does have a seat at that table, and many of the victims are very intimidated. They feel that in the past and now, that if they come and report, that the precedents in the past was that their voices were just squashed because of the relationship, a perceived relationship maybe, but it's still a relationship, so they don't report. The second thing I'd like to talk to you about is I do have a personal friend that has a developmental disability, and they have been violated incredibly. And they don't want to report either because of fear of retaliation, the fear of being I'm sorry, the word just kind of went right out of my head, excused before in the past. And they would like to have an opportunity of maybe with the Senior Disability Services or maybe with the police force to make another report. So those are the two things that I would like to speak about. But Chief, if you would consider reorganizing your CPAP so that way people aren't intimidated with that perceived relationship, that would be an awesome take home. Thank you, and I give back my time.
Thank you, Mona.
Next we have Alexi.
Great job.
Good morning, all items, please. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Alexi, and I'm a street medic and mental health crisis responder. I've been at the protest nearly every day over the last 9 days, providing care to people who've been utilized by various law enforcement agencies. I've been tear gassed, I've been beaten with batons, I've been kettled and then shot at with less than lethal rounds while trying to treat people who are utilized by law enforcement. Not once have I seen protesters initiate any violence. Every single time, every single day, it was law enforcement that escalated. I wasn't alone. Medics and other peacekeepers, people who showed up with me to protect lives, were targeted again and again. In just my own circle, multiple friends were shot with rubber bullets or foam rounds. One took a flash grenade to the head. Another was hit twice. Another was shot 3 times. One friend was injured so badly that they're still out of work. And this targeting isn't new either. One of the friends who was shot 3 times at one protest last week was also brutalized during the 2020 George Floyd protests and is currently in a lawsuit against the LAPD. Wow. The same pattern is repeating itself, but it's getting worse. The tactics have become more violent, more aggressive, and more indiscriminate. So when others come into this meeting and try to paint the protesters as the violent ones, I would like to be very, very clear that it's a lie. That lie is being used to justify brutality against people who are unarmed, non-violent, and trying to save lives. LAPD has not only targeted people, they've also been abusing animals in the process. I've seen officers use horses to charge peaceful crowds, forcing them through clouds of tear gas and into people holding signs and medic kits. That's not public safety. That's a state-sanctioned attack. You claim to provide oversight, so I would like to know, where is the oversight? You signed off on a $14 million campaign of suppression. You looked the other way while LAPD shares surveillance data with ICE. You watched us bleed and done nothing. You're not neutral. When you allow this to happen, you approve it with your silence or with votes. You are complicit. We need accountability. We need truth, and we need this commission to stop shielding LAPD from consequences. Thank you, and
The next speaker is Becky. Before we move on to the next speaker, can I just have whoever just called in to reach out to either the Inspector General's office to inform?
So you can investigate yourselves.
And if anyone else listening that have similar complaints, please reach out to them. Thank you.
The next speaker is Gigi.
Gigi's up.
Good morning. I want to echo what Audit said. Thank you for allowing that permitted protest for the First Amendment on L. Ron Hubbard Way. Thank you, Chief McDowell. Thank you, Commission, for that. Look at the protest. It was amazing. No incidences. But the day before, I had to deal with, well, I believe you guys were in tackle alert. Scientology called the police on me for trespassing when I was just on the public easement waiting for them to deliver the porta potty for that. We had gotten permission from Sergeant Corwin, who said that we could do it the day earlier because it was on Father's Day, it was a Sunday. That's the only way we could get the porta potty there. So we had Sergeant Corwin's permission, and I was there to supervise, watch, put it in the right place. And I got harassed by 3 men on bikes trying to intimidate me, and I chose myself not to call you guys because you guys are overwhelmed with everything going on. And I figured if I did, usually it takes forever for LAPD to show up, but within 5 minutes, there were 2 cars showing up. There was a sergeant and 2 officers. And according to this card that I got that says, no crime, no trespass, no obstruction of sidewalk, porta potty allowed and permitted. I believe not only were they trying to fight against the porta potty being there, they were trying to trespass me on the public easement. I never stepped foot on their property. I wasn't hanging out just standing on the sidewalk. I was on the public easement, and they were trying to trespass me. They also were trying, Scientology was trying to fish for my information, and they were trying to get the officers there to get my information and require me, who committed no crime, to identify myself. I'm not a local, so I do not know the specific laws about that, but where I'm from, you have to be detained or commit a crime or reasonable suspicion that you committed a crime. But I'm wondering, if you're on TAC alert, how come Sergeant Dressing 38439, Officer Salas 41537, and Officer Ramirez 45684, why did they come right away within 5 minutes when Scientology called? I wish that you guys would stop this relationship that is going on between LAPD and Scientology. I don't want you guys to just pop up and take my side. I want you guys to be neutral. There's supposed to be neutrality in policing. And again, like Melissa, I've been calling Zoom for a long time, and this is the first time I've been able to speak since October, because you guys do not do the Zoom calls like you should. So I appreciate how you're doing back and forth, but can you please in the future do Zoom calls like you're doing today and let the people on Zoom talk more? Thank you.
Great job.
Next we have Riley. Riley Rowan.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, hi, yes. What items would you like to speak on?
All items, please.
Minutes?
Thank you. First, I would like to start by addressing many of the people who spoke before me who are actively calling on the police department to be more violent against protesters. We do have a First Amendment right in this country to dissent, to assemble, to speak our minds. And what the protesters are doing are protecting their families. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit emotional because what we've seen is people kidnapping mothers, fathers, and children off the street. And the police department is choosing to target people who are defending themselves, defending their families, instead of intervening in kidnappings. These people have no warrants, they're masked, they refuse to identify themselves. They're taking people from jobs, from restaurants, supermarkets, school graduations. And the LAPD and the commission is instead choosing to vilify protesters who are practicing their rights to protect themselves and to protect their families. What the police should be doing is protecting our citizens. My coworkers, my friends are afraid to go out, not because of protesters, but because of ICE roaming the street uncontrolled. And the police department is doing nothing. Nothing. You say you're not collaborating with them, but you're not helping anyone either. Your duty is to actually protect the people of Los Angeles. They said 300 people were taken this weekend. Many of them are legal, which doesn't even matter. They're going to work. They're going to school. This community is being terrorized. Terrorized. And nothing is being done to protect them. You are clearing the way for ICE. You're attacking press, protesters, medics, as she just said before. Any violence that's being instigated is being instigated by the police department, by the sheriff's department, telling people to get off the streets hours before curfew was even in place. No one had any notice. And then using this as an excuse to start shooting protesters. The police department is absolutely out of control. It's a shame, and I would like to say Los Angeles has not been an embarrassment. Los Angeles has actually been a light to the rest of the U.S. that we have a right to defend ourselves. These people are not welcome in our communities. ICE. And we want to see the police stand up for the people of Los Angeles. Thank you.
The next speaker is Madison Shockley, followed by Michael Williams.
I'm not interested in trying to defend protesters. We do what we do and we keeping our people safe. That's what we're doing.
Thank you.
Now let's talk about y'all. What do y'all do? Because you can sit up here and look all sympathetic and talk about how you want people to go out and protest. Y'all have power. What are y'all doing to stop ICE from stealing family members? The most you've talked about is how y'all protect buildings from getting tagged. Property. What are you doing to protect families that are getting their family members kidnapped? Because let's be clear, the reason why people started going at the police is because when the community stood up and blocked the ICE from going into their communities, blocked ICE for hours from stopping them from going to do the raids, guess who came to the rescue? For ICE. LAPD. That's why people are angry at you. Because when the community stood up and decided that they were going to protect their loved ones, y'all stopped them from doing it.
That's right.
Y'all have been facilitating ICE raids by protecting them from community engagement. Y'all could be making sure ICE is following state and federal law, which they're not. You could be doing that, but you're not. You could be arresting ICE agents who violate the law, but you're not, and you're not going to. You could even just do the mere base thing and not show up for ICE when community is stopping them from stealing their family members. You could do that bare minimum, but you won't do that either. You can sit up here and talk and cry and say how much you feel for the immigrant community, but you're allowing this man to have their families stolen from them. Where's stop LAPD spot? I see my brother. When they told you about this man's involvement with ICE and sharing information with ICE, y'all just shrugged their shoulders and did nothing. And now we're reaping the repercussions of that. Why do you think ICE knows exactly where to go? Because this man's been sharing information with them. And then now this man is helping them facilitate the raids.
That's right.
And y'all ain't gonna do shit about it. We come down here to police commission every week, not because we think you guys are gonna do something for the community, but we want to expose how heartless and cold this city government is. And you all are the best examples of that. Prove me wrong.
Shame on you. Embarrassing. Laura, you're on next.
Laura.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes. What items would you like to speak on?
On all of them, please.
Minutes.
Hi, so we had a beautiful protest on Father's Day at the Cult of Scientology on L. Ron Hubbard Way. We did experience some few little things with the porta potty and things like that, even though we had taken many months to just get these sidewalks permitted, which is not something that the Cult of Scientology normally does. They normally block the whole street, and they do that every time, and they also tried to get us to get the permits that we all put so much time in individually, like making sure this could come through. I just wanted to really thank, first of all, the 3 main police officers that I interacted with. I wish I had their badge names and numbers, so I could specifically say this, but to me, as a survivor of the Cult of Scientology, I was born and raised on their slave contract and their child abuse under a billion-year contract and their auditing schemes and hypnotic MK Ultra techniques, which I'm sure you guys have heard a lot more over the last few months, but we were able to actually get police officers for once on our side on that. I've never experienced that, and that, like, not only from me, but from other survivors that were at the protest, and for all the people that weren't at the protest, that's something for them to now see that, okay, there's been even a small change in the LAPD with Scientology and really being fair with people that for once we had this protest, this permit to do this. And so I really, again, just want to thank the officers that were there for the day for us, because they were there, and we felt that safety. And then I want to thank specifically also the officer in the evening who came to take over the shift. He validated us, he said this is great, he saw how everything was completely cleaned up. That, we've never had that experience with LAPD. I really want to thank everybody who helped with that as well. And I also want to make sure that LAPD and everybody keeps their eye on this, because this was just the sidewalk closure. We would like to have a big event there, and the amount of pushback we already got on it for this was a lot, but we would like to do even more for the community and get more of the people out that are wanting to come out but are afraid to come to the LAPD. So please be aware that if people are coming to you from the Cult of Scientology, be mindful and open. There's a lot of protests going on right now, but if somebody needs help, please do not have somebody that's under LAPD East Division of the LAPD department over there that's going to send them right back to their handlers in the Cult of Scientology. My dad is still there, Phil Anderson. If he wants to get out, please, police officers, LAPD, help him get out. I asked for a wellness check. I would love for that to come through to fruition. Please, Phil Anderson and any other parents that are trying to get out of this.
Great job, Laura.
The next speaker is Jason Reedy.
All right.
Okay, so we have all witnessed the LAPD's latest incursion into our communities over the last 12 days. Let's run down some of Jim McDonald's lines. Now, you've been quoted as saying protesters have launched missiles at your pigs. Missiles. Next, you're going to say they're like agents of Iran, and the LA Police Foundation will locate funds to acquire a small Iron Dome system. Now, the crowd control techniques you talk about feature the beating, maiming, and terrorizing of protesters protecting our community. Lethals are being fired at people's heads, groins, spines, kidneys, and necks. A comrade's finger is off the bone as a result of your violence. Another comrade is going to surgery this afternoon after being shot in the hand with a 40 millimeter. They may never be able to close their hand again. All right? Others were shot in the head, have concussions. Some may have brain bleeds. And again, lives change forever because of the violence of your pigs. Now, you've called protesters outside agitators who are targeting Angelinos. That terminology should be only reserved for the pork that comes out of your department, like Rick Linton, who drives down from Ventura County to shoot Angelinos who are actually protecting their community. Your pig, Rick Linton, shot me with a 40 millimeter in my groin with my hands up outside of LAPD headquarters. Linton shot Richie Sergenko in the kidney and shot Shakir Rahman twice in his groin for asking for the name and badge number of your pig, all under the supervision of Commander Shannon Paulson and Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton. Now, meanwhile, the biggest of pigs, Jim McDonald, has said his pigs have shown so much restraint and discipline and that he couldn't be more proud of them. A lawsuit filed yesterday says the widespread use of force against journalists by LAPD officers indicates an intent to prevent the public scrutiny of police conduct towards demonstrators. Numerous journalists have been shot on air, live. All right? During interviews, he's telling reporters, when we do use force, when we do use less lethals or gas, it's because we have to. We're forced into a corner. When it's your fucking pigs that are forcing protesters into a corner, he says, quote unquote, our hand is forced, and we do what we have to do to be able to protect people. That includes trampling people with horses, beating them till they lose consciousness, shooting them with less lethals to disfigure them, or worse. And this is what Jim and this department calls tactical maneuvers. All right? All while telling the public that the eyes of the world are on us. Yes, they are. And all of them are looking at your fucking department and the violence that you have been fucking inflicting on our community. Right? He calls graffiti evil, but not ICE. That's right. Right? The same ICE you directly and indirectly collaborate with. And we've seen your swearing on the front line protecting those fucking pigs, and we see your automated license plate readers giving information to ICE, the ones that you have a great relationship with, all right? What many have called out when this board was being approved as chief, okay? And I want to shout out Rick Cole's daughters, by the way. We need to be asking people that are being charged with assault with a deadly weapon on a pig, but it's not the other way around. A 40 millimeter is a deadly weapon. All right? Batons are deadly weapons. Thank you. The assaults with deadly weapons are happening at the hands of your fucking pigs.
Mr. Reedy, if you have not already filed a complaint.
Oh, no, fuck your complaints. Fuck your
Why would you
complaints.
file a complaint?
Fuck your
Y'all
complaints.
sustained
What complaint?
0% of your complaints.
You'll see the complaint in fucking court.
Why would anybody file a complaint?
All right, I'm just going to get into it. According to the FBI, domestic terrorism includes ideologically driven crimes committed by individuals or groups that are intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population or influence the conduct of government. Based on what I've experienced in the last 2 weeks, you all have been reckless and excessive in your violence against civilians with an unequivocal intent to intimidate us. When mass goons are abducting Angelinos, protesters are getting trampled by horses, as is noted, and illegally kettled without just cause. Wouldn't you say this sounds like domestic terrorism? Yes. Let's not forget Ruben Salazar, a New York Times columnist who was killed by a tear gas canister fired through an open door of a bar in 1970. Believe it or not, less lethal munitions actually make things worse. Tear gas is banned for use in warfare per the Geneva Protocol, but you don't seem to care about that. Y'all shot a protester in the testicle and a photojournalist between the eyes. I got shot in the ass this week for turning my back to grab my dropped backpack. Where are your priorities? Why aren't you stopping ICE? I haven't been able to sit comfortably for 5 days because of the wound it left behind. If this isn't reckless, excessive, and terrorizing, I don't know what is. I personally witnessed your parasite, Rick Linton, as is also mentioned, aim and shoot a 40 millimeter from close range outside of this building. When asked for his name and badge number, he prefaced by saying, quote, "I'm going to pop you right now because you're taking up my focus." But he's allegedly gone through de-escalation training. The hypocrisy is unreal. Truly, we don't feel safe around y'all. If you don't have the spine to stand up for what's right, and remember that you made an oath to protect and serve, words that are plastered on this wall, then turn in your badge and find a more useful job. Because you continue to undermine the community's safety, any faith in law enforcement, and the criminal justice system. How have your actions this weekend given us any reason to trust you? Clearly, there are many of us that can see through your lies. Your brutality is forever scorched into our collective memory.
Next speaker is Megan.
ICE has admitted that these protests delay their operations, but Rasha is outraged and hurt by these warrantless kidnappings. I just want to know what the fuck you're gonna do about it. What are you actually gonna do about it? How the fuck can you come in here and praise LAPD, who's arresting and beating the people who are trying to do something about it? Unsurprising and yet still disgusting. Teresa Sanchez Gordon, quote, "We don't hurt peaceful protesters." You often sound like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but today was special. We've seen video after video of LAPD shooting people at close range with rubber bullets, as has been said time and time again, trampling people with horses and then beating them while they're already on the ground, shooting reporters, all of it on video. Notice that Earl Suthers is willing to make a judgment call about the protesters being unwarranted and violent, but not a word about his precious pigs, not until a thorough investigation can be made over a year from now. Not a word against ICE. Fathers ripped from their children and locked in a basement calling out for each other. Not a word about that. Children taken from their elementary school graduations. Not a word about that, Earl. Sons blocking the doors of ICE vans, telling their mothers that they love them. Not a word about that. There's people that don't even know where their people are, taken by masked vigilantes, and we don't know where they are. You, Rasha, at least admit what's happening is wrong, but it's honestly your most disgusting one up there because you're also helping them do it.
Right.
The only people keeping ICE from running rampant and completely unchecked through this city are the protesters. All of them. And differentiating between the good ones and the bad ones, and the permitted ones and the unpermitted ones is a tactic to divide us. Don't fall for that. LAPD has always collaborated with ICE via data sharing of their vast surveillance network. We're the most surveilled city in the nation. And all that info is uploaded into databases which ICE accesses, and Stop LAPD Spying Coalition wrote you a letter about it weeks ago and you didn't do shit. Now the invisible has become visible and we see plain as day who LAPD protects and serves. Shame on all of you.
The next speaker, please, Julian.
First off, mine a Comanche, I guess. I don't know. So glad each of you up there are so excited to double down and remain up on that podium and defending your bloodthirsty piggies. Errol and Rasha in particular, and thank you for some of the most silly goose speeches I've heard from you yet. To be extremely clear, your piglets incited violence. Your piglets shot people point blank with rubber bullets in the head, groin, and chest. And the poor piggies who were caught in the middle, have you seen the videos? The gleam in their eyes, that isn't caught in the middle, that's excitement. Excitement to brutalize. That's joy in trampling, joy in shooting, joy in watching, joy in surveilling. Your piglets were armed to the teeth. And Junior upset with the weapons like CS gas was thrown back at you because you know how lethal, painful, and damaging it is to be hit with less lethals. You trample people atop horses as the slave catchers you continue to reveal yourselves to be. And for months, you sat atop your little desk up there saying time and again that you do aid ICE, you don't aid ICE, you sometimes aid ICE. How it's entirely unsurprising that on June 5th, when your pig cars lined an entire block because your pigs were aiding an ICE raid, this isn't your first, this isn't your last. You took hundreds of people across this city this these clothing of young kids and protesters so you can criminalize them, hunt them down, and put their families down on a new monitor, a new screen. Thank God you can watch a sparkling resolution as your foot soldiers fire bullet after bullet into a crowd of kids, and then you can find the faces of those kids and their families after the fact. CSOC and real-time crime centers are whirlwinds. Let me repeat myself. These past 2 weeks, you mounted a counterinsurgency against the people. LAPD treated last weekend like a military operation, but embarrassingly, you guys were too weak and scared that you had to call in the actual military. You spent over $9 million plus the millions and millions you spent building out real-time crime centers and automatic license plate readers, and your piggies still were found by some high schoolers with skateboards on top of a bridge, not because you didn't have enough resources. You had more than enough money, weapons, surveillance, and people in power, but you lacked the power of the actual people. You will always lack the power of the people. Fuck you!
Is it just gonna stop the coalition people that haven't gone up yet? Did Mona go up yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Gigi?
and Gigi.
Okay.
Laura.
Alara's here too?
So one of the things that we say to stop LAPD spying is that it's not a moment in time, but a continuation of history. So as you can see, the performance has begun. The language around after-action report, the language around review, the language around assessment has begun. And that makes you wonder, what we have talked about it all, is that what is the uselessness of this useless goddamn body? Because it's a rubber stamp pass-through body. It wasn't like 5 years ago, George Floyd, 2021, 3 independent assessments had to be made. Outside bodies coming in, doing their job, something that they're supposed to do, right? Let's even go back track, 2015, 2016. Outside independent bodies had to come in. Black Lives Matter, talking about the specter of murder of black people all over the city. Let's go further back, 2007, Mayday, MacArthur Park. Outside independent body has to come in and review the actions of the police. What the fuck are these people doing here? Let's go back, 2000, the Rampart scandal. You know, the DOJ had to come in and say like, okay, what the fuck are you guys doing? They were going to sue them as well. Let's go back, 1992. Rodney King riots. Where were these people? Where was the police commission? That has been around since 1926. Let's go even further back, 1965. Watts riots and Watts uprising. But what's also interesting, that the commissions were led by former CIA directors. McCone, Watts, right? Webster, 92, and on and on and on. So this is the function of this body. It's a pass-through body, and we have to understand and recognize that. But we only come here to expose and disrupt. Expose and disrupt and build that power to abolish this system. This is what we do. Jay McDonald's, every time somebody asks him about immigration enforcement, he goes back to 1979. Barragan is supposedly talking to some of the nonprofits who are deeply complicit in this thing. Somebody should ask him, does he know what a CSOC is? Does he know what CopLink is? Does he know what Crime Tracer is? Does he know what Peregrine Technology does? Does he know what Fusus One does? Does he know what Flock Safety does? Does he know what the role of Palantir has been? Does he know how vast the social media surveillance is? Does he know since 1979 how things have advanced at LAPD? And in that letter, Megan, that you said, that we have mapped out that this is a pipeline to deportation? Information sharing. They talk about personnel and resources while they staff the fusion center, where they are sitting right next to each other. Does Barragan know about the record management system and how the nodes are connected through Crime Tracer? Does Barragan know about the National Data Exchange that ICE uses, and the NCIC and those connections? So this is not even incompetency. This is the uselessness. This is the uselessness, and this is what we have to understand. The city council ain't going to do shit. It's the protesters. It is us, the people. It is us, the people, who will bring this shit down.
What's on today's agenda isn't about safety, it's about laundering power. It's a steady stream of private capital underwriting public surveillance, all passed off as mutual donations from the Los Angeles Police Foundation. But let's be clear, these are not gifts. They are investments in racialized control funneled through wealthy white homeowners and sanctioned by this commission. $242,000 for 17 ARPR cameras in West LA. This is policing on demand for the Cheviot Hills and California Country Club HOAs. Communities that remain materially insulated from the very state violence their money enables. ARPRs don't just track license plates, they generate a live archive of movement, location, and pattern. Data which LAPD has already lied about sharing. You claim only 5 local agencies access it, but the truth is it flows to regional fusion centers and federal entities like ICE. So let's dispense with this sanctuary city theater. It's surveillance for the rich, displacement for the rest. And $20,000 to furnish and upgrade the Topanga Police Station's Community Safety Operations Center. You're literally interior decorating the LAPD's command post for spatial domination. These sucks don't just watch, they strategize. They scan, assess, and deploy. They operationalize racialized suspicion into tactical response. This is counterinsurgency with a new paint job. And let's not forget, LAPD is expanding its drone program out of these very divisions. You're building a technological dragnet bit by bit. Drones, license plate readers, predictive policing, all stitched together through a regime of data extraction and interagency sharing. The city becomes a test site, its people reduced to subjects under perpetual surveillance. And then another human trafficking summit. How convenient that the same department criminalizing sex workers, migrants, and killing them, murdering them, Linda Becerra-Moran, now postures as their savior. The logic is consistent. Invoke moral panic to justify expansion. You're not combating exploitation, you're instrumentalizing it. And this has all been said before, but let me say it one more time so hopefully it gets through your thick heads. How do you sit here and talk about protester violence while the LAPD is fracturing skulls, trampling people with horses, and firing crowd munitions into heads and groins? Let's talk about what a street medic treated in just one day, all inflicted by LAPD, and mostly said already. But someone with a traumatic brain injury and a head laceration, someone whose finger was hanging by the skin, a broken leg, a broken hand, multiple people needing stitches, an ear split wide open, people blinded by tear gas, others with goose-egg-sized welts bleeding down their faces, and by the end of the day, the medics ran out of bandages because people's clothes were soaked in blood because of the police. What do grotesque distortion of reality to equivocate that to anything a protester has done? And a proof of you've been saying all along. The state will always treat resistance as violence and state violence as peace. And you're lying to the public to cover up for a militarized force that maims and brutalizes with impunity. The asymmetry is not just real, it's calculated. And we will not let you rewrite that narrative. And what are you overseeing? What are you reviewing? You represent every single lie LAPD feeds you and call it accountability. You nod your heads and sign your names.
Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa.
Good. Oh.
There's Zoom callers like Nora, there's people like Nora who's waiting a long time to talk, Nora.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Jill.
you. We've gone an hour and 15 minutes. We're going to conclude public comment today, and we're going to take a 10-minute break until 11.
Russia, who's your boss work for? Who's Jones Day work for? You talk all that shit about Trump, but who does your fucking law firm work for? Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump, right?
Russia's a fucking sellout.
True. Remember when you moved to this country from Cairo? From fucking Egypt and Pico Rivera? Your family would have been targeted too, Russia. You would have been targeted too. Don't forget that, Russia. Don't forget that.
Don't forget your era.
They're gonna take a break.
Keep running from the public.
Where's Mona at? Oh, she's back there. Okay.
Make sure I'm not rolling you, right?
No, you're good. You're good.
Trying to keep things together.
They're gonna come back, but not for. Look at the media soon. The media are following. Yeah, there'll be another chance in the afternoon. It's not the police, but the city council. Are you doing great? I'm so proud of you.
Where's your gym buddy? You can't leave your gym buddy like that. They got to get a workout too.
Fuck you, Jim.
Yeah, no, thank you. This afternoon, they will be.
Oh.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
I want you to know
Got
that.
it?
Yeah, I just want you to know that.
A bro with news. No, I'm kidding. A cat with news. Doing good.
They own that street and
Of course,
they've
but
never
like
allowed.
getting up there and thanking them for the permits and stuff, I just feel like it throws people under the bus.
No, it's because, no, they've never granted the permit, they've always violated
I
every.
know.
Oh,
why are you
yeah,
asking
sure.
them for a permit, though? They're the ones.
I would love to
helping
sit,
them.
I would love to sit and talk to you about it, if you'd be
Yeah.
willing. I'd like, hear me out, I hear you out, because it's a strategy, it has nothing to do with everything else. It's just
Right,
fighting
and I guess I would
Scientology.
just ask before we
It's only
talk,
because
if
it's
you
L.
think
Ron
about like
Hubbard.
what the effect of that is on the people who don't get permits and who don't stay
Yeah, our people
compliant
know.
with their.
All right, I'm gonna cut this off and then see you guys outside.
Scientology thinks they own L. Ron Hubbard Way, okay? And